Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to it's not really the first video, but the first actual kind of video where we talk about Custodes here
It's our fifth
on
one.
the war. It's on the war in the Webway. We did a little intro video, so if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. It talks about the context of what we're doing, and yeah. So
Check
this
you out,
first video,
professional podcaster, YouTuber. Go and check out my other
I'm winging.
videos. Excellent.
I'm actually genuinely winging it right now, but basically,
Okay.
this first video
Yep.
is going to be around where the faction is in the current
Yes.
setting.
So the reason why we started trying to work out what this wants to be, and the reason why I think this is a really interesting place to start is I think there's a general opinion by a lot of people that custodians are in a really bad place, and I don't agree with that, which may alienate some of our listeners. But the reason is, I think they're just different now. I think they have moved away from spamming strats, spamming something, and they're now a more specific, more niche place with different kind of units. And what I wanted to get from this, and what I wanted to talk about, was how do custodians play? What do we look at? What missions are really good for us, like hold 2, hold whatever. Not necessarily look at specific data sheets. We can touch on those, but it's more like if you are a Custodes player going to your first tournament, if you're a Custodes player going to your 100th tournament, what is it? How are you preparing? And I think that's what we can offer as an interesting place. So, open-ended question: Custodes state of play. Are they any good anymore? Discuss.
There we have it. There we have it. This is literally what this is going to be about. My first instinct answer is yes, but.
Yeah, yeah. I'd literally do exactly the same thing. That's exactly what I'd say.
Yeah, like, are we any good anymore? We have some of the strongest individual data sheets in terms of what we can put on the battlefield at specific points, at specific times.
So,
Um,
can I ask? So, as a starting
go for
point,
it.
what is the Custodes? What role does Custodes play in the meta or in the tournament scene at the moment? There used to be the anvil, right? You could have 3 10-man bricks of custodian guard sitting on objectives, and people would just cry because they couldn't get anywhere near them. They haven't really got the same resilience anymore. Do you think they've got the same killing power? Do you think they are more MSU based? Like you look at Custodes, your main Custodes player. What is it that they do now? What's the headline level that you'd sum them up as? New player joining, Custodes play as what?
It's a tough one because you can run Custodes in a couple of different ways, right?
Yes.
So you run them very differently to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I run gunline.
if you're going into, yeah, you run gunline. If you're going into a tournament, I guess your play style, whatever you feel more comfortable doing, has to win out. Like you have to go. If you picked up one of my lists,
Yeah.
you'd struggle. If I picked up one of your lists, I'd struggle. So that's the whole point. I think, broadly speaking, Custodes are one of those factions that, if you get paired into an army or an opponent that spams dev wounds,
Yep.
you're in trouble. You're in trouble. If you get paired into, so for example, I played guard
Yep.
at a tournament not so long ago.
Yep.
You know, the guy had a load of non-line of sight shooting. He had demolishers. He had armored sentinels or scout sentinels. He had all the kind of bells and whistles that you would think, and ended up winning quite comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because he only dealt damage in one phase of the game.
Yes.
Shooting.
Yeah.
It meant that I could control it and kind of structure it. And I think that's where Custodes are really good.
Yes.
If you into those kind of factions, if you go into factions which are multi-phase damage,
Yes.
and indeed in your fight phase,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or just for example in Eldar, your movement phase as well, you know, you can't. It's very difficult to deal with that. So I think Custodes are. I don't think we're at the bottom, whether win rate would suggest. I think we're just above Drukari or something. But I do think we are kind of mid tier in where we go. And if you get a good run at a tournament, you can easily go 4-1, 5-0 if necessary. And you need a bit of luck. I'm not gonna deny.
I was gonna say
we are
easily go 5-0 might be a contentious place to.
4-1, definitely.
Yeah,
5-0, no.
So I think the problem is with the 9th Codex and with the 10th Star and Index, a lot of people saw Custodes as linear, like they are hard and tanky and no one can get through them and blah 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 blah, and they were, and quite frankly they were. They are still a tanky army, but you can't sit them out in the open and just try and take it all. You have to play them smarter, and I think what you touched on there really nicely was there is versatility in the code in the Index at the moment. There's versatility in the play style, and you have to work out what works for you. Now, if you want to play tanky, you play 3 lots of Warden bricks. If you want to play combat-y, you play with a bunch of blade champions that can advance and charge all over the board and whatever. If you want to play gunline, you can still do that. And I think that you have to be smarter with where your trade is now, because they're still expensive and there's still 3 wound and 2 up, 4 up, and Custodes will die.
And die easily.
And there are ways to make them die easily. But they are so hard to shift. Still. Played correctly. Played smartly. They still get a 2+. In cover, they still get a 2+ against AP -1, because they'll still get that. Wardens and pressure, and it's one of those lists that if you can stage it correctly, it's one of those armies, sorry, if you can stage it correctly, it becomes a really, really, really grind for a lot of opponents. And I've played against Custodes, and I know Custodes adequately well. And I'm sitting there going, Jesus, I haven't done it quick enough. And now they're in my lines, and now they are in the combat phase, which is what they love. And I do damage in multi-phases, not the same way that Eldari do, but that's what my CSM list does. Now, you're right. If your worldie is playing the combat phase, if you are guard or Tau playing the shooting phase, if you can dictate that one phase of damage, they can play. The Custodes can still play very, very, very well into these armies, because people aren't going to be picking up 20 models at a time. They'll be picking up 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to the Red Path,
Yes.
the YouTube channel. I think those guys are fantastic. They're really, the knowledge about the World Eaters is fantastic. I was paired into World Eaters at a tournament, a couple of days before it started, and I was listening to those guys because I was like, what do they do? And they were great, but I kind of disagree with them in terms of where they were saying that the win rate with Custodes against World Eaters has kind of flipped. I still, since the patch or the data slate that came out, I still think Custodes are really good into World Eaters.
I would say the win rate probably has flipped, but that's because people haven't adapted. I don't think Custodes losing to World Eaters. I think the stats might show it, but there is definitely a game here, and there is definitely a way to play it, and people just need to be smarter. So the World Eaters bum rush forwards. They still have to operate in the Custodes phase. Custodes can still make them -1 to hit, and that completely screws with their maths and screws with their numbers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, completely. And also, the easiest way into it is you just, if they've got Angron who's going to bum rush you, okay, then give them a bit of space on the line.
Yep.
Okay, and then layer, your 2 squads of, Witch Seekers a couple of inches in front of your line, so that Angron doesn't have enough space to put his base there, and all of a sudden he can't get through. So you move blocking the base.
Yep.
It's quite a straightforward thing, because obviously with the fly rule, he's not going over the buildings like he used to.
Mm-hmm.
If they're doing a massed, exalted 8-pound charge, just slap wardens on the line. Get them to go into your wardens. If you've got him with, if you've got your wardens with a shield captain -1 damage for feeling no pain, and they'll just bounce. They will absolutely bounce.
Yep.
And before you know it, they've lost a 6-man squad, and you've taken 1 guy dead.
Yep.
Yes, you've had to put your foot feel no pain, but it's a good trade.
100%.
So it's that kind of thing. So but then again, we're going too much into detail on just them.
No, but it's an interesting place to be, right? So when you talk about states of play, you have to talk about what you might face, and I think that the way if you just listen to the Meta Watch and you listen to GW and you listen to certain other podcasts or whatever, you might find out that Custodes are now dead and nobody ever sees them. Mid tables, right? I think you'll see Custodes, and I think they can compete against every army in the mid table sphere. I think Custodes against Eldar suck, and they just will. But World Eaters are climbing at the moment. World Eaters are right up there as one of the best factions in the game, and I think Custodes have a plan. I think you're right. And I do this a lot, and I think a lot of people do this. They go, right, I've got a character. I've got a Blade Champion, I've got a Shield Captain. The Blade Champion goes with the Wardens. But he doesn't always have to do that, because you don't declare that on your list. So if you play into something where you have to be as tanky as possible, you put your Shield Captain with your Wardens, you do your -1 damage, and you pop your 4+ for no pain. What's getting through that? What's getting through a 2-up, 4-up, -1 damage, and 4++, plus, and if it's in combat, -1 to hit. They are tanky in a different kind of way, and I think people need to think of them like that now. And it's like, okay, so how do I force the trade, and how is the trade in my favour? And that's why I find them really interesting.
And a lot of people think that if you get hit with Custodes, you need to wipe them back.
Yes.
Now, you don't actually. I mean, obviously, a lot of the time they will, right?
Yep.
But you don't actually need to. It's all about positioning. I always think the most important turn for Custodes is the turn before you go Hail Mary in.
Yes.
It's massive. Like in our game, Ollie, you were playing CSM.
Yep.
At that tournament.
Yep.
And it was, I think, the most important turn was the turn before you dropped down, because I knew you were going to drop down, so I just layered everything out.
Yeah.
CSM absolutely caned Custodes in shooting.
Yep.
You only had one target.
Yep.
So it's all about the turn before the big one, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's a really fair point, and it comes down to, again, reps, understanding the fundamental parts of the army. But if you can layer it up, and you can, so in our game, for example, you dropped in your Wardens and you popped your 4+ for no pain, and I didn't shoot them. And it's like, some people are like, oh, that's wasted. But because you popped it when you popped it, I knew it wasn't worth my shooting to try and shift what I should shift. And ultimately, it probably won you the game in me not targeting those. And so, out of phase interactions that you can work out and make people decide what to do, rapid ingress, but whatever it might be, fundamentally knowing what your army does and what you want it to try and do into the matchups, I think, is probably where people are falling down on understanding that Custodes is still a strong army, a very strong army. I think the only matchup I won't want to face is a Eldari player, because, and I know you were teching for that quite recently. You were trying to find out how to put things into transport so you could still play around the night spinners, and Eldari is still horrible, but I think everything else I wouldn't mind playing Custodes into, if I'm honest.
The other really bad one is leagues.
Oh yeah, Votan. So much stuff.
That's a shocker. That's a shocker for us. It's not just that. It's well, anyway, the lists that I run, I can't pop Sagittar.
Yep. And
kill everyone inside it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that much anti-tank. And Custodes doesn't. I mean, AP1. That's it. In the infantry. So I do think that knowing how to face factions is massive, but the amount of transports in the game now, the more people that take transports, the more it forces us into taking at least one or two Caladius.
Yep.
And I think that's where we will. I mean, 2 Caladius, that's 430 points, right?
Yeah.
That is, a Custodes player would think, oh, that's not actually that much, but anyone else would think, God, how much is that? For really 8 shots.
This is what's wrong with me. I thought 430 was a great price. I'd be like, yep, that's done. They're the first thing I put into my lists.
You think about it, it's 400. It's 215 points you're taking to kill 100-point Sagittar.
Yeah,
and then
but
if you stuck out to shoot him, then you're dead.
yeah, but like you're killing one, you don't die in return, you kill another one. Like it's basically making the points back. It's a great point.
Depends if they've got a land fortress. If you don't die in return,
Yeah, true.
but it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Because the meta's kind of like all over the shop at the moment. AdMech and Necrons have just come out. I think if you're a Custodes player and you really want to concentrate on getting better and getting your win rate up, I think for me, I think you need to focus on just having bodies.
Yeah, so
Don't worry. Don't worry about anything you can't. Like before you get to a tournament, you don't know if you're going to leagues. You don't know if you're going into Eldar. Just focus on having bodies to get points.
So you've literally got hit the nail on the head, which was my next statement, which was, I think one of the problems I'm seeing with a lot of Custodes players or complaints or whatever is they're trying to build 9th edition lists again. So they're like, oh, like why can't I use bikes? Because bikes are always my anti-tank, or Alaris were great when blah 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 blah, or Sagittarium were like a core staple in my list. And I think there are places for a lot of this, and this isn't a unit review kind of thing, but bodies, and this is where you build your lists particularly well. Tough bodies or cheap bodies with sisters, and having units that can do an action if you needed to do the action, and they can get where they need to go, or they get the pre-game scout move, or like how having numbers on the board is, I know, something that you build your lists for.
When you face a Custodes player,
Yeah.
if you're running say CSM,
Yeah.
when you face one,
Yeah.
like what, and you see the list, what do you think? Oh, that's, I've got this in the bag.
I look for
Like,
how many
against them.
wardens they're running. I look for if they're running blade champions, because I'm assuming they're going to go with the wardens, and then how many Alaris they're running. Because to me, Alaris are a waste of points, and we'll get into why that is. If they're running Caladiuses, if they're running 1, I'm going, okay, I can get that. I've got enough anti-tank. If they're running 2, I'm thinking, how do I get 1, survive, and get the next one? But realistically, if they're running lots of small guard squads with no character support, I don't really mind. In a whole, so we're kind of like rushing through it, but this is kind of it's a good starting point. The missions at the moment: hold 1, hold 2, hold 1, hold 2. There's a couple out there that hold 1, hold 2, hold 3, or hold 1, hold more. If Custodes are putting 300-point guard squads on objectives and they got a hold 2, that's 600 points. If they got 2 Caladiuses, that's 1,000 points of their army that isn't moving. Not really, not that much. So I'm looking at a list and going, what's coming at me? How do I make sure I hold my 2? How do I try and flank deny somebody, or try and hammer a flank, or do something to make it uncomfortable that they're going to be picking up bodies one way or the other? And that's how I look at, as a enemy player looking at a Custodes list. It's going, okay, what can I get easily? You mentioned at the start, I do a lot of dev wounds with CSM, and so if I can get dev wounds into guard, that's good trades. But yeah, that's what I'm looking.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think Custodes players, if you are thinking that your sisters are going to be able to hold backfield objectives for you, or your inquisitorial henchmen, so for example,
Yep.
That's not really going to work. If you want to get above kind of lower mid tables, to be honest, in my opinion, I think they're just getting nuked. There's so much out of line of sight stuff. There's so many fast units.
Yep.
Warp spiders, specters. There's so many fast ones, and now you've got Necrons that are going to be able to pick up and drop anywhere they want. You've got 3-inch deep striking Inceptors. They're just going to nuke any chaff you leave. So you have to leave, at least a 200-point unit, which is 4 guard, on your backfield objective. And you're probably going to give them character support, which means you're going to be around 300. Like Ollie said, that's a big chunk. That's over 10% of your army holding down your backfield objective. Don't get me wrong, it's secure as hell.
Yep.
Unless they really heavily invest to get rid of you. But that's a big chunk. And then if you've got to do it on a second one, you're probably going to have to put even more points in a bigger unit, maybe your Warden squad, because that's going to be a no man's land one, which means it's probably going to get shot.
Yep.
And you're probably going to have to contest it. So I think list building around being able to hold securely 2 objectives is massive. So I found that whenever I've tested
Yep.
and gone, oh, I'm going to actually go more into armor, or more into Venetari, I've always just absolutely bombed out and got hammered because it's just never worked, because I haven't had that core foundation of 2 points that are bringing in primary scoring every turn.
I think it's interesting you mentioned the Wardens, because for me, the Wardens are offensive output. So how I start my Custodians list building is 3x6 Wardens with character support, and then 2 units of guard to hold down objectives. And then I go, what I've got left. Purely because if I drop Wardens down and shove them in somebody's face, then I can protect my primary. Whereas if I've got Wardens sitting on an objective, I think that's a waste.
Yeah, I get that. I think Wardens, because you know that you're going to have to compete against them.
Interesting. Right, that's a debate for a different time there. Yeah, that's a debate for a different time. Are you still there? Did you pull your mic out? This is great.
No, sorry, mate. My the baby's awake, so I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're all good. I'll try and entertain people. But yeah, I think for me, where Custodians are, they're just different. And you look at what's winning or what's placing in tournaments, and there are certain lists don't understand how they work, or I don't think they should be doing as well. It's matchup dependent. For core list building, there is a lot left in the codex. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that a lot of what we will have to rely on is Forge World. I don't think there's enough in the index that's Games Workshop that we need. I think you do have to go down the Forge World route for anti-armor. I'm not a fan of, say, Venetari. I think they're too expensive at 200 points for 3 models.
Mate, the Venetari, it really annoys me when I see people, it shouldn't annoy me, admittedly, because everyone's their own and they've got their own experiences.
No,
it annoys me when
go for the anger. Go for the anger. Feed that.
It just annoys me. It annoys me when I hear them saying, "Oh, they're one of the best units in the game now." No, I'm sat there. I'm like, what? Or sorry, in the index. No, I'm sat there and I'm like, man, are you 200 points for 9 wounds? Yep. Three guys with 9 wounds. Yep. The offensive output. You got no rerolls. You can't put a character with them.
Exactly.
So, I'm sorry. I get and if you want to go 6-man, yes, it can be oppressive because you can drop them in and hide and then move them up.
400 points.
Any decent player
would screen it out.
That is going to screen that out. Yep. Because they know that there's 400 points of rapid ingress coming. So they're just going to put cheap, crappy units near the terrain nearby that you want to hide behind. So you're either going to have to drop them all the way in your own deployment or at something slightly further back. Yep. You can't advance and charge them. They only move 10.
Yep.
So as long as someone's, over 18 inches away from where you'll be able to drop them, then I don't want to rely on an 18-inch or a 19-inch, 8 or 9-inch charge.
Yep.
Not for 400-point model.
No, 100% no. So they've become one of those staples in lists, and I sit there and I go, I know what they're trying to do. Like, I can see it, but those points could be spent elsewhere on something. 400 points is 2 Caladiuses. Yeah. Like, that's what we just said. Like, it was close enough. Which is your anti-tank output. R6 Venetari moving through walls with shit fly rules and whatever else it might be. They can rapid ingress for free. But once on the board, they're gone. Is that enough? No. No Vixilla, so they can't. They're only
points.
Sorry.
So sorry, mate. 400 points is 5 Wardens and a The Blade Champ.
Yeah.
No.
So
Um,
how can somebody want 6 Venatari versus 5 Wardens of the Blade Champ? So the OC counts worse. They move slightly faster, granted, but if you're rapid ingressing and advanced and charging with your Blade Champ anyway, and shooting because you've got assault weapons, who wants the Venatari? Like, I don't understand who's playing that damn game. Unless that's all the models you've got, in which case, apologies, that's fine. Like, you play with what's fine, and you play with the rule of cool. But we're talking about specifically here the people that are telling us that this is the way to play Custodes, and I just can't see it. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and recently that there's been some lists that have been doing really well with Alaris. I personally don't see it.
Nope.
If they've done well, fantastic. They're obviously making it work. I haven't been able to make it work, and I don't think you have either.
No.
I think Alaris. I was talking to a couple of Custodes players at a tournament in the Darksphere one, and I was saying that I think they're rubbish, and both of them were looking at me like, oh, how can you say that? They got all full rerolls. And admittedly, it was before the data slate. But I looked at their lists, and neither of them had any Alaris in. So if they were that good, why wouldn't they be running them? But I turned around and said, it's AP1.
Yeah.
It's everything's got cover.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, the and again, this is a data sheet focused debate, but the things to think about when you're talking about Custodes is the AP. Everything gets cover in the game. It's so easy to get cover, it's not even funny. So the AP1 shooting is incidental, and it does a lot more damage than people might think it does, but also it's AP1, and it's easy to mitigate. For Custodes, for me, there are ways to be resilient, and that's the way that should really be built around, and I don't think the Alaris have that. It's cute, but it's still relying on 9-inch charges, and again, people can screen that out. You charge into chaff, and then you lose the Alaris blob. What I want to do is, just before we finish this off, I want to try and flip it back. So we spoke about how I look at that from currently Chaos player looking at Custodes. How do you look at it in the mirror match? So you get paired into a mirror Custodes. What's the first thing you look at to go, one, does this person know what they're doing? And, for a given value, do they know what they're doing? But two, like, what do I want to take apart? What am I targeting first? Like, how do you look at other people's lists?
It's a good question. Really good question. I would probably say, if I'm looking at list and trying to find out do I know what they're doing, it's normally around enhancements.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I would say Veil Blade is overlooked, but I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you run that a lot.
Yeah, because that one enables me to mess around with OC for my character. Admittedly, it's just a one model, but that a lot of the times when I'm going in with the guy that's using it, I'm going into a battlefield objectives. The squad, or most of the squad, is dying, so I don't have very many left. Yes, I can bring one back in the command phase, but then if I need to bump up my OC a bit more, I've got the Veil Blade to hold that objective a bit longer. So if someone's running a Veil Blade and then they've got a squad of Warden or two, then I kind of know what they're going to do.
Got it.
Interesting enough, at LGT, I played the mirror, and he had a 5-man Alaris squad. A really, really good Custodes player. He'd won a local tournament somewhere, I think. Julia was telling us before the event, and he didn't. For those of you listening, I was running the Coronis and Sagittarium.
Which we'll get into, because that was fun.
We'll get into, but his entire Alaris squad, 5-man, I killed them in turn 1, because he didn't know what. I mean, he did know what that Sagittarium bomb did, but I think because it can swing a bit, I think he underestimated it. It turned out to roll really well, but I think when you're in the mirror match, it's so dependent on getting yourself into a situation where if you roll well, you will win the game.
Yes.
It sounds really stupid to say it like that, but the amount of times that I've been in a situation where it doesn't matter if I roll well, because if I kill that unit, it doesn't matter. Whereas if I kill a specific unit in a specific location, it's going to win me the game. And I might be 30% to kill them, 70% to not. If I roll slightly well or a bit well, I'm going to kill them. And if I don't kill them, I won't lose the game. But if I do kill them, I'll win it. And I just try and make as many of those interactions with my opponent's army as possible.
Got it.
And I think that's the best way to Custodes. There's no point. I mean, I had Valerian going into a squad of into Trajan squad, and I had the Wardens. And this was back when we were playing it. That Trajan ignored the -1 AP, he ignored the -1 damage. So he just bit me up. But now it would be the reverse.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I ended up winning the game very close.
Yep.
But the mirror is all about, I guess, the more in depth Custodes, the better place you're in. I think. I think it's all about experience.
I think that's fair. I think you look at Custodes, and then I just want sort of final thoughts on this, I guess, and this is mine, and then I'll let you do yours. But Custodes have 6 strats, pretty decent strats. We'll get into those. It has a small codex, small index, quite an extensive 4-12 collection, and you look around and people are playing a very similar kind of list, or very similar kinds of lists. There is a lot of depth there, and I think when you have such few models, and this is why I loved Custodes, this is why I fell in love with them originally, you have to make them do work. You can't sit them around doing nothing. You can't necessarily wait. You have to stage. You have to plan. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into playing a 20 model unit army into stuff with hordes or stuff with tanks, or you can almost get, it's not quite that, but you can almost get the same number of models in Custodes as you can in Chaos Knights if you play certain ways and play with certain models.
Like an Orion or something. Like an Orion dropship or an Ares.
No, not quite, but like if you play Chaos Knights, you can have 12 Chaos Knights. I think it's 2 units of Nurglings and a Changeling, right? So you have 19 models.
Yeah, point taken.
But like I know the Nurglings, I know they're different. Like that's not what this is about. But my point is that like you have such a low model count, but they can work, they can slap. You have to dictate the game, get reps in, understand what it does, and get reps in against better players or players playing meta factions, because you're going to face these. If you go to tournaments, you're going to face these. And what you don't want to do is go into the Wraithguard bomb with Eldari and go, yep, Custodes are shit, doesn't work anymore. That's not what that's. It's not a fair reflection. There are ways to mitigate it. There's ways to play around it. There's ways to do stuff to it. Ignore it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? We've all been there where an Eldari player just goes, right, okay, my Wraith Guard are gonna okay, they're dead.
Yep.
And you just said, oh bollocks, I just lost 300 points of units for nothing, and then all of a sudden your cannon, your warp spiders have just picked up 2 guys from Dev Wounds. Oh, fantastic. So we've all been there. I think. Even with the nerfs, a lot of people were saying, Eldar have been brought down a peg because of the points. The matchup got insanely more harder for us because we were kind of buried,
battered.
But we were absolutely rammed. But I do think that, like, obviously this is all personal opinion, and everyone has their own style. I do reckon that. I've learned most out of games that I've lost by an absolute country mile. So I think when you lose a game, take 5 minutes after the game and just write down what didn't work. If you're at a tournament, that's even more important. And then think. Sometimes if I'm going into work, I'm on the train into London like a sardine. I've got my headphones in and I'm just listening to a YouTube channel about something. have a think about what it is that went wrong, what it is you could have done differently, but also would a
Or
different unit have been better?
or find an idiot, talk to him all the time, make a podcast, and then make other people listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Case in point, I actually think Pyrethite spears are going to be really important for us.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to another Custodes player, and he's like, "You're mad." I probably am. It's probably not going to work at all, but in my head, they're going to work, and so I'm going to run them. And I think there are a lot of good ways we can use some of our weirder units, and units that traditionally everyone's gone, "Oh, they're crap." We can actually use them.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need the models for Pyrethite spears. You do not need the models.
No.
Run 5 Custodian Wardens with spears.
Yep.
Pretty much exactly the same anyway. It's just a fatter spear because it's a melter.
Yep.
Just run it and test it. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of random ranting that we do, people, about Custodes. And as we move forward, we're going to get more into actual data sheets and the uses that we put them to. Like we said on this and on the previous video, it might not be everyone's cup of tea. People may listen to this and go, "Oh, it works just fine." Like Alaris worked just fine for me, or that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
Please post in the comment section. I like arguing with people.
we are literally talking from personal experience, but when we get to the Alaris data sheet, we'll say why we think that, and then
we'll
in the comments.
We have reasons. We're not just trying to flame people just because it's a popular choice and it's easy to go after. And there are genuine reasons we believe in this stuff. All right, I think that's going to do me. Is there anything else you want to leave thoughts on? Just 1 second summary of, are Custodes bad? No, they're just different. Is kind of what I would take from this.
Yeah, 100%. We're just different, and we just need to adapt. And I think as more factions come out, we need to think a bit more than we did pre-Data Slate. Data Slate, because pre-Data Slate we were just 10-man blob, 6-man 1 blobs, and we're
plug and play.
Over almost 60% win rate. You just need to think more.
There is nuance in the codex, and please go out and find it. And hopefully through this podcast you'll get ideas. But yeah, that's me. I want to sign off now. Goodbye.
Yes, yeah. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for listening. If you got to this point, thanks for staying with us.
God help you. All right. See you later, guys.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.